It is a winding case of emotions, glass case of emotions. Sorry. That was the Anchorman term. Flubbed it. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag right now. You feel confident in one moment, and then the next you go, oh, but what if? What if this goes sideways? What happens if that guy doesn't play up to expectations? Yeah, there's a lot to get into, and we'll keep it going here all week long, and eventually they'll play a game. That much I do know.
We're also going to have our SEC football tiers, which should be very fun. That returns for the first time this season. Very interested to see where we put Alabama for that. And for the rest of this week, we're going to talk some cool folks. Of course, Bill Connelly of ESPN usually joins us Monday, but gracious enough to join us today at 4:25 to talk about the whole week of college football and, of course, this big Mizzou-Kansas game. And Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network is going to join us at 5:25 to talk about this longtime rivalry as well and his perspective on it, both with the Tiger Radio Network and also when he was the sports director at KOMU. Throughout his many years. So he'll join us at 5:25. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Tweet us at KTGR Big Show and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now the Big Show's Big Deal.
Again, the Tigers are going to be without Sam Horn and Blake Craig for the game. Blake Craig out for the season, torn ACL. Eli Drinkwitz did say on Tiger Talk last night that while Sam Horn does still have a significant knee injury, out, quote, an extended period of time, end quote. He did not rule out Sam Horn for the season. In fact, he said that he thinks he could be back at some point before the end of the year. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. Again, 2:30 is the kickoff time for Mizzou and Kansas. Sold out crowd, of course. And today, Mizzou Athletics reiterating that you need to enter through the gate on which your tickets are located, side of the stadium where you're sitting. That's the side that you need to enter through. If you don't, then the ticket scanner's not going to let you through. You're going to have to go around to the side that you need to be on in order to be at that game for Mizzou, Kansas at 2:30 on Saturday. That's the Big Show's Big Deal on this third day of September 2025. You can call or text us at 875-KTGR. And yeah, look, it is a big deal because they're even having a press conference tomorrow over Zoom. Laird Veach is going to talk like, look, here's what needs to happen. Here are any things that need to be cleared up about the logistics for Saturday with the construction and the nature of this game, the influx of people that will be coming into Columbia, not just for the game, but I'm sure there will be just a lot of people in town in general because they just want to be here for it. Maybe not necessarily have a ticket, but are still going to be around. So there's going to be a lot happening, and they are seemingly prepared for it.
Yeah, and you got to realize, too, some of them are going to be beakers, so they might not know really where to go. It's probably just as much for their benefit as anybody.
That's true.
If there's any traveling Kansas fans. Hey,
Mizzou, even throughout the most hated rivalry in all of sports, they still lend the hand, the olive branch. And it's almost like what both coaching staffs have maybe done this week. Have you kind of noticed that through Eli Drinkwitz talking and Lance Leopold not giving a whole lot, Kansas's defensive coordinator saying Mizzou's offense is the best he's ever seen in his years of coaching, which has been like 20 years. It's like, okay, all right. We're being very nice to each other. Not supposed to be very nice.
When did that
that was earlier this week, I believe. I think Leopold, I don't know if it was the same day that Lance Leopold gave his quote, but that was something that also was thrown on the other side here. And it wouldn't have been saying this back in, 1964, but hey, is what it is.
Yeah, it's a very respect your opponent type of vibe to not almost to go out of your way to not give bulletin board material, right? I think that's sort of what I took it to be when I saw Eli Drinkwitz on Tuesday said that Jalen Daniels Mizzou hasn't ever faced a quarterback like him, which is, of course, demonstrably false. They faced Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is kind of like him.
But is Jalen Daniels like Jaden Daniels? Like, in a way, you could spin it to say that it is true because Jalen Daniels is his own guy. We have never faced anybody like Jalen Daniels who has the name Jalen Daniels and wears the blue jersey with the number, what is he, 6? Whatever it is. Like, we've never seen anything like him. if you're really putting through the discrepancies there.
Again, technically correct, the best kind of correct. So you can say that it's true, even if like had they faced quarterbacks better than him.
Yeah,
probably so.
Probably.
Again, Jaden Daniels, I watched him and he was really good. And he looked like he was really good. Mizzou defense treated him like he was really good because he did lots of really good things. So all that being said, it's the kind of respect your opponent vibes that I think are 100% correct for this type of game. Like, it's been so long. If you played every year, then maybe there'd be a little bit more like the trash talk and bulletin board stuff. I feel like everybody's kind of waiting for the other side to make the first move. And if it continues this way throughout the week, that first move comes on game day. So I'm cool with that too.
Call or text us here at 875-KTGR to talk more about that Mizzou-Kansas rivalry. Now, what is your biggest concern about the game? And then maybe your biggest encouragement about
when you say encouragement,
like
what do you mean?
Like, what do you feel really good about could happen for Mizzou's benefit in this game? And you don't have a whole lot of worries. So essentially the inverse of concern.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you were wanting me to encourage the team, if that was where I give my pep talk. No, you're saying the thing I feel best about.
Try your best, I guess. I'm not going to take that away from you.
My most confident take. All right. Well, you want to start with concern?
Sure.
What am I concerned about? I'm concerned that, the step up in competition is going to be a little greater than we are, I think, anticipating as we imagine this game in our heads. Kansas beating Fresno State and then Fresno State turning around and walloping Georgia Southern does make me say, all right, like that's of the 3 games that have been played involving Missouri or Kansas, Fresno State has been the most high-quality opponent, right? Mizzou played Central Arkansas. Kansas also beat up on Wagner. Those results are what you're supposed to do. We haven't seen Mizzou against an FBS opponent, and Kansas played one that also has an FBS win under its belt through 2 weeks. So, it's just that there's going to be a step up in competition, and everybody knows that, I think, but that it's going to be one of those things that, especially early, I don't think it's going to take the players by surprise, but it's just until you see it manifest against a power opponent, no matter who that might be, we do have sort of those lingering questions in our mind. Looked great last week. The step up, I think, in competition is real here.
It sure is. Like, it will be different than what you were preparing for at first. I guess, though, the way you could build confidence through that is that Mizzou is most used to competing against each other in practice, and they know that competition is to the level that they should be seeing. But again,
that's not real, though.
But you don't know what's happening on these. You don't know what's coming your way. And that's going to be the difficult part. I'll say this, like, my biggest concern, I've harped on it all summer. I sound like a broken record, but it cannot be overstated how important it is. Like, I need to see this offensive line take care of business. And I'm not going to, because there are fewer, it's more on the fact that there are fewer areas about the team that I am concerned about across the board. Running backs look good. Bo Prabila looked good. Defense looked good. Wide receivers that maybe need to see 1 or 2 more guys provide a little more consistency, but like in the game as natured as it was against Central Arkansas, like it makes sense to change guys out. And there was one guy who was favored in one drive, another who was favored in another, like Marquise Johnson gets the long bombs. Like, okay, that's how it goes. We still maybe need that question answered of like, okay, does Mizzou have at least 2 wide receivers that they can turn to at any moment and say, yeah, you can complete this play for us, especially if it breaks down, things like that. I think they know that Kevin Coleman can do that. They just need to know if somebody else can.
I don't actually agree with that. I think Marquise Johnson is there. For me, he's there.
Yeah, we just need to see it against someone other than Central Arkansas.
I do not agree with you. I think we saw it against Iowa. Like, I would say if we're doing concerns versus encouragement, I feel very good about the receivers. Okay. There's no lingering questions for me because I think they got 2 and probably more, but certainly 2.
But that is less of a concern than the offensive line to me. So for me, there are still a few more questions about that unit going into this game, because the step up in competition is something that we are going to pay attention to with that 5. Not necessarily the talent level of each individual guy. I think we know that, but how they all work together, how they're communicating, and whether they're able to find the strengths that they had found over the last couple of years with their run game, like they had with Schrader and like they had with other guys, because Drinkwitz alluded to the fact that there were a few instances where their outside zone didn't come off exactly the way that they wanted to. And there were a few miscommunication things. Now, again, they got better as the game went along, but you do have to start better if you're going to hang in this game.
Yeah, the line is definitely in the concern pile. If we're picking spots, like, again, receivers, that would be an encouragement. I feel good. The line, I don't yet, but they can certainly prove it. It won't take long to do it. If we don't see from them and hear from them a bunch in the first half, then I'll say, all right, here we are. That's kind of the way it felt like in the second half of the first game, where they didn't have quite so many of those breakdowns where Bo Pribula was, hit by an untouched defender. That can't happen. And it's, if you play like you did last week, it'll happen more times than it happened last week, because the players you're going up against are better. And so the line is 100%. It might be, other than just like the generic, hey, the step up in competition is real, please be ready for it. That the O-line is right behind that as my biggest concern. I was encouraged that it did get better as the game went along last week, but to have any moments like they had 2 or 3 of is something that you kind of go, oh boy, I hope that is an anomaly more so than the trend.
Yeah, because you were able to get by from those mistakes in that first game, and you probably won't if you make them again. So there's a lot to still be answered of that unit, I think. Not to say that they can't get it done. Like, we just don't know the answer yet. And so we will get a little bit more of the answer this week, and then another 2 weeks when they play South Carolina, and then on and on after that.
Yes, and I think beyond the can they get away with it and win the game part, I think the answer could still be yes. But one of those types of hits could have resulted in a fumble if you're not as lucky. One of those types of hits could have resulted in an injury to Bo Pribula if you're not as lucky. Like, those are, the injury part of it is almost as relevant as the part about how does it impact the game, because nothing that happened in an individual play last week was going to impact the game. I would say the same thing about, an untimely pass interference call against you last week was going to just be, all right, you'll probably get him on the next series. This game, that would be another concern, is if they have one-on-one set up on the outside, do the corners hold up to that with against a quarterback who's more liable to put it on the receiver, who's more liable to draw the penalty than even last week's group did. And they drew a couple of those defensive pass interference penalties. And the first one seemed very obvious. Like, okay, one-on-one, let's just test them. And, the corner didn't make the play. I think that might have been Banner on that particular play, but that got the first penalty called. But those types of things are not as much of a concern as, like, my questions about, can the O-line hold up against a stiffer competition, against a tougher pass rush? Can they all be in the right spot? I do look at that, those matchups on the outside. Don't let that become something that they can pick on. Whether they can complete the pass is one thing. Another is those 15 yards, if it's a 3rd and 8 and they just can chuck it deep and try to draw the flag. And if it works, that's another thing that I'm not saying is like I'm predicting, but we saw a little bit of it in the first game.
875 KTGR, your biggest concern and your biggest encouragement for Saturday's game, Mizzou and Kansas, coming up here very soon. And yeah, saw a little bit of it, and we'll certainly see what the Jalen Daniels factor is in a game like this. Like, how much of a concern is that? Like, a wily quarterback, the type that can be annoying to you at times. Like, you faced Pavia last year. You faced Castellanos last year. This is kind of the same bucket and maybe a little bit more talented than those guys.
Yeah, but the archetype you do have experience against, and you have it with this defensive coordinator. Like, I'm not looking to 2 years ago with Jaden Daniels and going, oh, they just didn't put their best foot forward. I thought their plan sucked against him. Like they didn't have a good game plan against Jaden Daniels. I think this is a completely different coordinator who Batoon had ample opportunities against these types of quarterbacks last year to go, all right, here's what works, here's what didn't. You could put like a Lenora Sellers, just like the dynamic guys that can do stuff with their arm and their leg. I think this is an instance where they're prepared, I think, from a game plan perspective to combat Jalen Daniels. It's not to say that he isn't better than any of the ones they faced last year of this archetype, but I think that they had plans they felt good about last year, and they can tweak them to suit what Saturday, I should say, will bring. So it's a concern because of how good the player is and the talent that Jalen Daniels is. It's not a concern for me. Like, I would almost be encouraged by, hey, Mizzou did face some guys similar in style of play last year, and I think they'll have an idea of what to do with a guy who can hurt you with his legs and his arm from like a game plan standpoint.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting how Mizzou crafts their game plan specifically for him on that front, but it is something to at least watch out for on that side of the ball. But like defensively, Mizzou's got the personnel. That's not the concerning part. The part is just, okay, how does it all fit together? And look, Kansas has a say in this. Like they can make huge plays themselves. So if that happens, how do you respond to it? And if you're in a backs against the wall scenario, how can you climb back into this game? Okay, encouragements for this. Yeah, your biggest encouragement.
Start at the top?
Yeah.
Let's start at the top. I am encouraged by what we're going to see, in my opinion, from Bo Pribula. There is no concern. I have zero concern about what he's going to do. Decision-making, athleticism, making the key plays, third down and intermediate. I think I don't go into this game going, oh boy, I hope Bo can rise to the occasion. It's not on my list of concerns. I am encouraged by what I expect we will see from the quarterback.
And see, I think similarly to that, I'm not concerned about his decision-making at all. I think he showed for sure that he is able to stay poised in some tough spots, and how he's able to respond to them. The talent's certainly there. If he's able to showcase it, if he gets the chance to showcase it from the offensive line, giving him the protection that he needs, then that will be an excellent sign for Mizzou. So I actually have him pretty high on the list as well. A lot of questions were answered for me about him as far as how he can handle this situation. There is still a step up in competition, though. It's not to say that he can't fail. Like I won't say that that's out of the realm of possibility for him. There probably will be a mistake or two by him. Like we saw 0 almost pretty much against Central Arkansas. But again, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. You will see some mistakes happen, I think, from several folks on this team. And it will probably at least one come from Bo Pribula. The question is, how does he respond from that? But I don't, like you, Brenden, I don't have the concern that it will rattle him. I don't think the atmosphere will rattle him. The moments, the gravity of the rivalry, I don't think any of that is going to get to him. He's good enough to win the game. It's not a guarantee to say absolutely he's going to do it. Book him for this stat line here, here, and here. But I know that like Mizzou will have a chance with him, even if they are down 3, needing a score, something like that. I'm not too worried about Bo Pribula's ability to make the right play there.
I think they're in good hands with him. They're in good hands with Hardy. The offensive line is probably the only part of the offense that I say, all right, I'm not 100% confident that they're going to be as good as they need to be. Like, I think Mizzou's going to win the game, but it's not to say I can't be wrong about that. And if I am wrong, we may be talking about at least like dissecting it from 2 sides. The offensive side is like, did the line hold up? That's the number one question, I would say. I don't have any other concerns about the offense. I think everything else is something that I feel like can be a mark in Missouri's favor toward winning this football game on Saturday. Is there anything on the defense for you that stands out in a encouragement sort of way that you say, hey, this is the difference maker? Because I think when we look at it, we say, hey, the pass rush, being able to get Jalen Daniels off schedule in a way that almost like that doesn't benefit him, because sometimes you get those mobile quarterbacks out and around and it actually serves to their benefit.
Right.
But if you pressure him in the pocket and keep him in the pocket, I think that's great. I don't know for sure that they're going to do that. There wasn't enough of the getting to the quarterback in week one compared to what I was kind of hoping we'd see against Central Arkansas. But it's also not a concern for me because I don't think that, we have any question about the talent on the front seven.
Stopping the run will be the more important thing to me when it comes to that. Like, and I feel confident in Mizzou's linebacking core to get that done. Or maybe a few leaky moments against Central Arkansas that you got to clean up, but I can understand that. Maybe one or two tackling issues here and there, but I don't think that shows up for a game like this because, that's almost the aspect of this rivalry. Like, you will go full speed. You might go a little too amped up, and maybe that comes to your benefit sometimes when you're trying to hit somebody as hard as possible. So I have confidence in the linebackers to get that done and turn this offense as one-dimensional as you possibly can.
Yeah, that would be the hope. That would be the hope, is that, that manifests in to where then it is up to Jalen Daniels to kind of be special, which he can be.
Yeah.
But you would hope that he's having to do that, not because it's 2nd and 2 after you give up an 8-yard run on first down. Like, too much of that's going to give Kansas confidence in the wrong way that Missouri, if it starts that way, which it may, like you said, everybody's going to be amped up. You have to quickly be able to stop that in its tracks so that you can kind of pin it back to, okay, to beat us, Jalen Daniels has to be special.
875 KTGR, your biggest concern and your biggest encouragement for Saturday's Border War rivalry game. We'll get to some of your texts as we go along here on the show. You can call us at 573-875-KTGR and comment on our YouTube channel as well at KTGR Sports as we stream live there. We'll get to Bill Connelly of ESPN, his take on the matchup between these two, the first time we'll see them on the football field together since 2011, and about Bill Connelly's new book that just came out this week. We'll talk about all of that coming up next on The Big Show.
The Big Show with Andy and Brenden continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company. They're my car people. I'm proud to say it. And if you go to Lee's Tire Company, you'll be proud to say it too, because whenever I bring my car into Lee's Tire Company, I know that I'm getting an honest assessment of what my car needs. If I need new tires, I know they've got an incredible selection to choose from, and they run specials every single month to put money back in your pocket if you need those new tires. And also, they've been family owned and operated in mid-Missouri for decades, and they treat their customers the same way they treat their family. So if you haven't experienced the Lee's Tire Company difference yet, go and check them out at leestirecompany.com. If you need new tires, you can browse through their extensive catalog, see which ones you need for your vehicle, and then go check out one of their 3 locations. They're on the Business Loop in Columbia, they're at University Garage right by the MU campus, and they have a location in Centralia that you can check out. Lee's Tire Company, they are the place to go for tires in mid-Missouri. Go check them out at leestirecompany.com, because if it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. leestirecompany.com.
Michael Agnew here with API Project Fitness. I understand that life is hard, and if you're soft, it will squish you. You must find a way to be hard. Armor yourself up mentally and physically and emotionally. Our goal is to help you find your inner strength and hardness. The difference between strength and weakness is choice. With our group fitness classes and personal training and open gym, the choice is yours. Choose strength. Find us at apiprojectfitness.com or call us at 573-268-6944 to make an appointment.
College football is all about the next generation. Fresh talent, big plays, new energy every season. That's the same approach behind Flight by Yingling. It's brewed by the oldest brewery in America, but built for today. Just 2.6 carbs and 95 calories with real beer flavor that keeps up from kickoff to the post-game recap. So whether you're tailgating or celebrating a win, make Flight your go-to. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer. DG Yingling & Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Shangri-La is proud to be a part of every black and gold home game this season at the Zimmer Tiger Tailgate. Swing by our tent to play games, win prizes, and hang out with Missouri's top team of cannabis aficionados. Want to join the fun? Pick up your free Tiger Tailgate tickets at any Shangri-La location. Then come find us on game day. We'll be bringing the energy, the prizes, and the community spirit that makes Tiger football unforgettable. Shangri-La Dispensaries is paradise found. ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
It's another perfect morning. Birds chirping, coffee steaming, and you living your best outdoor life. But so is something else clinging, lurking, plotting. Later, you feel the itch. You scratch, you panic, and you realize that tick is locked in on your leg like it signed a lease. It's not just gross, it's dangerous. Ticks cause drama and carry disease. So what do? If you could, you'd probably just light yourself on fire. But you can't. So you call Steve's Pest Control. Steve and his team are just as local as they are lethal, which means they've got what it takes to tackle your tick problem. Because pests are local, so is the guy who eliminates them. Steve and his team don't just spray and pray, they slay.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
Big weekend here in Columbia. You can already feel it. KTGR and the KTGR app. It's The Big Show with Andy and Brenden. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR. Go to our YouTube channel at KTGR Sports Club. Comment there. Let's bring in Bill Connelly of ESPN to talk college football with us on Twitter at ESPN_Bill C. And the new book is out. Bill, let's start there. Forward Progress. There it is. On our YouTube channel, you can see it. Forward Progress. I know you've talked a lot about it all this week on several shows, but give us a synopsis.
It's the definitive guide to the future of college football, according to whoever convinced me to make that the title. It's how did we get here and where are we going? That's the elevator pitch for college football as a whole. There were so many different things changing all at once. I started to realize that I didn't have kind of a point of view anymore, like where I thought things should go. And so just kind of walk through all the kind of things facing college football simultaneously. The conference realignment, history of the sports relationship with television, arguing about a playoff, paying players, why the heck is nobody actually in charge? All these things that we've talked about plenty through the years. And just walk through them one by one and try to figure out what we can learn and what that might teach us about where things are going or where things should go. So that's that's in a nutshell. That is 270 pages right there, and it's got a very pretty cover, at least if you like Notre Dame.
That is great. I mean, to have that going now, and again, go check it out wherever you get your books. And I can't wait to dig in. I know there's a lot that that I could probably learn from that. Let's talk about the sport now, though, and particularly Mizzou. One game in. And now the big rivalry game comes back in a very interesting context this year, being at the start of the season as opposed to what we saw when it was actually happening in conference at the end of the season. Again, you illustrate the changes of college football in your book, and this is kind of part of it as well. But how do you kind of see it going in on the surface with these two teams and how they have looked so far?
Yeah, I think, we've learned little nuggets so far, more about Kansas because they've at least played twice. But it's a super interesting matchup. I think what we've seen from Kansas so far, offensively, it's really kind of strange. They've been staying on schedule really well. They just quick passing game, good running game, as you would expect with Jalen Daniels and Highshaw and those guys they have back there. But third downs, terrible. Red zone, terrible. Kind of the situational aspects of the game. Maybe that's purely a small sample, but it does feel like right now that's a blind spot Missouri can take advantage of, because if you're not allowing touchdowns, give them all the field goals they want. If you're not allowing touchdowns, you're in pretty good shape. So that part's interesting, but at the same time, Kansas's defense is dramatically more aggressive than it has been in recent years. Obviously, they have a new defensive coordinator this year. Lots of tackles for loss, lots of really trying to force the issue when they did none of that in recent seasons. And so that's a really big change, and that opens them up for counter punches. If Missouri is able to stay on schedule with their own run game, which I have no idea. We had the really strange sample with the Mizzou offensive line last week where everything was fine except for one drive when everything was worst offensive line in the history of Missouri football, and then everything was fine again. So if they're able to stay on schedule and kind of keep Kansas on the back foot, that's probably a good thing. But no, it's a really interesting matchup. It's one of the biggest games of the week. The week's kind of weird overall, and I think there'll be a lot of eyeballs on it. And I have a piece going up tomorrow just about, talk to Drinkwitz and Leipold both, just about, among other things, how do you get players in the right mind frame for a game that is going to have the craziest atmosphere they've ever played in, and also for a rivalry they didn't even really know about because they were like 4 the last time this game was played. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and one interesting aspect of it too, Bill, has just been sort of the coach peak that we've seen on both sides, kind of a respect your opponent mindset. Eli Drinkwitz saying that, Mizzou hasn't seen a quarterback like Jalen Daniels. How do you feel Missouri will game plan and match up for what Jalen Daniels brings to the table? Obviously, one of the marquee questions of this game.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. And also, I think I go back, maybe it was because I was thinking about the Boston College game last week when Alabama took none of the lessons Missouri learned about Castellanos in last year's Boston College game, where you don't go straight after him, you try to contain him and make him throw, and it worked really well, as opposed to Alabama, who just charged him every single time and he got away every single time. So maybe that's in my head for that reason, but I do kind of feel like they might understand, like, you can't go straight at him. You have to, it's better to, like, he's a very efficient, quick passer, but you still want him to have to improvise and not be able to go out and be in kind of a threatening position where he can run for 15 yards or whatever. So, yeah, I kind of have that vision in my head, and I don't know how far that'll go. Daniels isn't as fast as Castellanos. He's probably a better passer than Castellanos, but he will run around. He will try to escape pressure and make something happen on the run.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. All kinds made about Bo Prabula in his first start with Mizzou. The stat line, incredible. Central Arkansas was the opponent, though. And so now that, as you translate that into the other opponents, how then do you think the step up in competition could potentially affect him with how good he looked? Let's be honest, it was a pretty good start for his Mizzou career, at least.
Yeah, that was a solid stat line at the end of the day. So much of this depends on the offensive line. It really was a confusing sample that we got. It was just like a schematic miscue for a drive there when suddenly Prabula got hit about 5 times in a row, and then he really didn't get touched the rest of the game. And maybe that's all it was. The problem solved, the hole is filled or whatever, and there won't be any issues. But a lot's going to depend on that, because he doesn't mind playing physically, he doesn't mind taking hits, and he's going to try to make something happen. But at this point, especially without Sam Horn, you don't want him taking a hit on every play. So that's how he threw, though. It's obviously not the most mammoth arm strength we've ever seen from a Missouri quarterback, but he just reaches out and places the ball exactly where it needs to be. It seemed like he was really hitting guys in a position where they were in mid stride and running upfield as they caught the pass. It was just a lot of not only accuracy, but just really good leading his receivers. And that was a really good sign. Central Arkansas, not talented enough, obviously, but they came to play. They were hitting hard. They took advantage of whatever miscues Missouri gave them. And I thought that made it a pretty good test, at least from a physicality standpoint. But obviously, talent standpoint, now the competition gets ramped up.
Ramps up, and it ramps up fast in a meaningful rivalry game. So we'll see how Mizzou handles Kansas this weekend. But Bill, I want to ask you, rest of the country this past weekend, you mentioned it with Alabama. I guess we'll start there. What the heck happened? Is it as simple as they just didn't read the blueprint for how you handle Tommy Castellanos? Now it's Tommy for whatever reason. But what do you make of the Tide after that game? And Kalen DeBoer already, it seems, in some hot water here.
Yeah, it was just confusing. Like the fact that Alabama's offensive line struggled against Florida State's defensive line, I think that was probably real. Like FSU might just have the defense back in where it needs to be. And it just felt like they won that matchup. And I thought Alabama's offensive line was going to be really good. So maybe that's just purely a good sign for Florida State. But yeah, it really was like they just didn't do the homework defensively. And I'm not going to pretend I know every single tiny little wrinkle that Gus Malzahn put in, as opposed to like whatever he had put on film at UCF recently or whatever. But yeah, they just seemed unprepared and surprised by everything Florida State was trying to do. And that was a terrible sign. So, it's early in the year. You get a couple mulligans now. They can rebound. They're very talented. But it really was the combination of the offensive line not doing what I thought, and then the defense just straight up being unprepared. That was not a good impression. So they better get things in line real fast, because it's just because Nick Saban got all the arrows pointing in the right direction in terms of Alabama boosters and all the influences. that doesn't mean just anybody else is going to, and that thing gets really toxic really fast when you're replacing a legend like that.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Texas, another one of those teams that's glad that now you get a couple mulligans to try and make the college football playoff. But I mean, a very tough test to go and visit Ohio State, and the Buckeyes end up prevailing in the end. But everyone is trying to make it a referendum on Arch Manning, though. I wonder how you kind of fall down on that, but also how Ohio State looked, because again, they should get some credit for making him look the way that he did.
Yeah, I mean, their defensive front, it was very clear with Texas's game plan. They thought they'd be able to win on kind of the interior line. We'll be able to run between the tackles, fourth and short. We'll be able to just, get a push and run a simple quarterback sneak, and it'll work. And those things just didn't work. They didn't have that matchup. And when they didn't, then suddenly the fact that Ohio State's secondary isn't all that inexperienced and is quite good against a Texas receiving core that had a couple of last year's guys back, but it was one guy who dropped a lot of passes, and Wingo kind of disappeared the second half of the season, really didn't step up the way he needed to, which is easier said than done. But suddenly they just didn't have any matchup advantages. Plus, it was very clear Arch was nervous. Arch was short-arming some passes, little things that you would expect from a first-time starter or first-year starter, I guess. And I think I said before the season, basically SP Plus didn't have an Arch effect baked into it where we just assume he's going to be the best player in college football. He's just going to be merely a talented first-year starter. And SP Plus pretty much nailed the game. It had Ohio State by like 6.5 or something. So in that sense, I'll take credit for that one, even though it probably didn't project 14-7. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, really an interesting defensive struggle. And we kind of saw similarities in the LSU-Clemson game, lower scoring.
Yeah.
What do you make of LSU in particular and their defense really finding ways to win in the way that it did this game?
Yeah, I think it was really the single biggest takeaway of week one was points just vanished. It's I think what we saw in a lot of the big games, especially, is it's the Mahomesian kind of, we're just going to form an umbrella, a too high shell. We're not going to give up any big plays. If you want to take 5 yards every single play, go for it. You're eventually going to make a mistake and we'll stop you short. So he had long drives with no tempo, because tempo doesn't really work anymore. Defenses have kind of adjusted for that. You had long drives with no tempo that didn't produce points. And so like the games were just clicking by, and suddenly it's scoreless at halftime in some of these games. And I don't know, I came for points. I realize, like, I'll complain if a game goes 3.5, 4 hours or whatever. So I'll figure out a reason to complain either way, but I like points. I like scoring, and hopefully offenses get this figured out. But as far as LSU Clemson goes, it was a nice showing from LSU. Obviously, the Clemson defense looks like it's as legit as people thought, but the Clemson offense was kind of, for those of us out there who are a little skeptical, we certainly got reason backing that up. Cade Klubnik has never been like the best quarterback in the country. He certainly didn't look like it on Saturday either. And we'll see exactly how they can improve over these next few weeks. They don't have another big game till Louisville, I think, beginning of October. But so, I mean, they have some kinks to work out here, but still, it wasn't all that impressive from Clemson, I didn't think.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR. I was a little skeptical that Carson Beck would immediately assimilate to Miami right away, but sure enough, Notre Dame's defense comes in and he looks pretty solid in that sense. It was interesting how Notre Dame also kind of came back and made a game of it. I just wondered, that was a pretty entertaining game on Sunday night, but how did you kind of take away from both teams as they went away from that with Miami getting the win?
Yeah, getting that across the line for Miami was big. I mean, it was their first top 10 win since, I think, 2017, if I remember right, against Notre Dame. And so, that was big. They were awesome at the start of last season too. And so they know as well as anybody that this thing's a marathon and they have to keep looking good. But yeah, with Carson Beck, with him making a very bad mistake toward the end of the first half and having a receiver go up and bail him out with a one-handed grab as well. That was, I thought, a really good sign, because we didn't know much at all about the Miami receiving core, what kind of supporting cast he was going to have. So he looked mostly good. And when he screwed up, his receiver bailed him out. That was a fantastic sign, as was the fact that I know Notre Dame's offensive line wasn't fully healthy. Jagus is still out, but Miami just blew up the offensive line at the end of that game on that last drive. And I thought you have to be very encouraged if you're Mario Cristobal or a Miami fan right now.
Certainly so. And we'll see how both teams come back from that. Now, this weekend, we talked about the week 2 slate being a little weird, maybe a bit of a lull, maybe a step down from week 1. We got a lot of great week 1 matchups. There is the interesting one between Oklahoma and Michigan this weekend, though. Top 18 match, top 20 matchup, essentially, between those two. And teams that we feel like should maybe be in this tier, certainly year after year, if you talk about program prestige, but still a lot of questions about both. And I wonder how you see the test for either of them as they go up against each other.
Yeah, it's obviously with Bryce Underwood. He didn't have to do a ton last week against New Mexico. And New Mexico, one of my favorite head coaches in the country, Jason Eck, like they just made that annoying. They just knew all the little tricks to make that game super annoying, and Michigan survived it. So that was good for that reason. But obviously now this is Underwood's first genuinely hostile environment. I mean, I think Norman's one of the few places I've been where when it gets at its loudest, you kind of have to grab the seat because it's screwing with your equilibrium in your ears. They get really loud when they need to be. And so you figure that's going to be prime time. That's just going to be great. And we're going to learn a ton about exactly how much of a freshman Underwood is. In theory, he doesn't have to be a world beater or anything. That what we saw out of their running game was good last week. I still think their defense is going to be really, really solid this year. So, if he plays patient and takes what he's given, maybe this ends up being a really, really good game, but it does kind of true freshman's first hostile environment. That always that's the first bridge we have to cross here before we know what else is going to happen.
Certainly so. That's an intriguing game to watch. A lot of eyeballs going to be on Columbia, Missouri, though, with Kansas and Missouri. So we'll be looking forward to that. Bill Connelly of ESPN looking forward to it as well, at ESPN_Bill C on Twitter. The book as well. Show the book again one more time for the YouTube audience. There it is. Right. Forward Progress. Where do we get it, Bill? Where do we get it?
Well, I know you can help me goose the algorithm on Amazon if you just want to do it that way. As far as I know, I haven't been out of the house yet. As far as I know, it's in Barnes and Nobles around too. It should be in physical bookstores if you want to do that, but Amazon's always good.
That's great. Can't wait to dig in. Go check it out. Again, Forward Progress by Bill Connelly out this week. Thanks for joining us on the Big Show, Bill. Hope you're well. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Big Show is on at 444 KTGR and the KTGR app. I seriously can't wait to start digging into that. That should be a fun read.
Yeah, it sounds like every topic that we debate on the weekly, it seems, year-round, it's not just during college football season, Bill has taken the time and said, all right, here's the history behind it. Here's why it is this way. Here's what needs to maybe change. It sounds like a great read. Can't wait.
So go check it out. Forward Progress by Bill Connelly at your bookstores and online as well. All right, Under the Bus is coming up next. College teams might have to take note on what the Clippers just did with Kawhi Leonard. That's next.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon, I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports center is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Chiefs are on their way to Brazil today. Jalen Royals did not travel with the team. Omar Norman Lott has been limited in practice this week, but did make the trip along with Hollywood Brown and Christian Fulton, who are both dealing with lower body injuries. Ivan Herrera's go-ahead two-run shot was enough last night to lift the Cardinals 2-1 over the line against the Athletics. It was a second straight game with the home run. Miles Michaelis made a little history last night, win 6 innings, allowed just 1 earned, but he was the first Cardinals pitcher since Mike James in 2000 to complete a 1-2-3 3-pitch inning. That was in the top of the 6th. Rubber match tonight, 6:45 p.m. Central Time. That's that one right here on KTGR. Royals fall 5-1 to the Angels. Bobby Witt had the lone run of the ball game. Royals now trail by 2.5 games. Royals back in action tonight. First pitch, 6:40 from Kauffman Stadium. Ryan Berger facing off against Caden Dana. Weather, your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with the Boone County Office of Emergency Management, inviting you to the 5th Annual Ready Festival at Columbia's Cosmo Park on September 18th from 4 to 8 p.m. Get more info about this free event at ready.boonemo.org.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking mostly cloudy skies and a chance for some storms through midnight this evening. We'll continue to see clearing skies through tomorrow as morning temperatures drop down into the low to mid 50s. We'll see highs in the mid 70s tomorrow. Clouds return by tomorrow night ahead of another front that'll bring some rain into Friday. That will keep temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70 on Friday afternoon. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Truman the Tiger. M-I-Z. Marching Mizzou. And of course, to the house! To the house! The traditions of Mizzou football live here. Join us Saturday. The Tigers renew their rivalry against the Jayhawks. Our coverage begins at 12:30 on your home for Mizzou football.
Why stop now? Mid-Missouri's total sports station, KTGR.
Oh, it's one of the best weeks of the sports calendar with college football in full swing and the NFL returning. Plenty of ways to play on Underdog, the best place to select entries and win money all season long, Andy.
Yeah, especially when the NFL returns this weekend, but it starts even earlier than that. We've got NFL football tomorrow, folks, and I think the Eagles will have a much easier time trying to get past that Dallas defense than they maybe did when they had Micah Parsons. So I think that means good news for A.J. Brown. I'm saying that he's going to go higher than 69.5 receiving yards in that game against Dallas.
Take a pick like that. Add a few more players to it if you'd like. And hey, if you get your entries right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. And it's great because you can play with as little as $1 on Underdog.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? There's millions of people playing and making billions on Underdog. You can be next. So download the Underdog app today and sign up with our promo code KTGR to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code KTGR. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
School's back. Schedules are packed, and the last thing you need is a list of home repairs. So reclaim your weekends with Bags Homeworks, the fastest, most affordable handyman service in mid-Missouri. Whether it's mounting that new TV, fixing leaky faucets, or replacing a ceiling fan, Bags has you covered. No job's too small, and no wait is too long. Visit Bags Homeworks on Facebook for monthly giveaways and awesome prizes. For more, visit bagshomeworks.com. Bags Homeworks, getting your to-do list done. Discover, explore, and soak in the views of the incredible landscapes that make up the last frontier, Alaska. Experience the diverse culture and rich history as we cruise the Pacific coast and explore the wilds of Denali, Glacier Bay, and beyond. Join Zimmer Communications and Colette Travel September 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Courtyard Marriott in Columbia for an informational meeting. Alaska, the last frontier, and it's waiting for you. To RSVP and learn more, go to ZimmerCommunications.com.
Buckeye is fired up for Tiger football as Mizzou takes on the Kansas Jayhawks September 6th. Gear up with unbeatable deals on everything you need for tailgating, fall essentials, and all things farm, ranch, auto, home, and pet. Join the Buckeye Buyers Club for even more savings and keep the winning spirit going all season long. Join us for our live broadcast September 5th, 3300 Paris Road, Columbia, 11 to 1 p.m. Buckeye, your farm, ranch, auto, home, pet, and outdoor living destination. Go Tigers!
Hey y'all, it's Molly from Billiards. Tailgating's going to be hard this year. So if you need an easier tailgating plan, y'all, come on into Billiards. You don't have to pack anything. You can leave the cooking to us. We're climate controlled, and our burgers and fries are always a winner. Plus, our TVs are bigger than anything you're going to bring to a tailgate.
Look on down for burgers and beer. Billiards, home Broadway.
Even downtown parking is easier than tailgate parking.
You've already met a few members of the Family Pond family. Now it's time to meet the newest one. Family Pond's South Columbia location is just off South Providence. And just like every family pond, it's got a personality all its own. Different jewelry, different tools, different gadgets and gear. That's the beauty of the family. No two stores are exactly alike. So after you stop by your favorite, swing by South Columbia. It's your newest Family Pond store to explore.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pond.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
It's time to go under the bus on The Big Show.
Wow. First of all, Pablo Torre is becoming one of the most gifted and popular investigative journalists we have in sports.
He's a beast.
It does not stop. Apparently, Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers had like a ghost endorsement deal of upwards of $28 million to essentially get him more money than they were saying he was getting to circumvent the salary cap. That's the report in the accusation, but it looks like it probably happened.
If you watch exactly how he explains it and how Pablo Torre uncovered this for his podcast, you kind of believe it. I mean, it looks pretty transparently what that is. And now I guess we wait and see if the NBA is going to have a response. Don't you have to sort of investigate that and dole out some punishment? You have to.
You have to.
That's a pretty significant, that's a pretty big deal.
Did you see that the MLBPA, by the way, retweeted that? Like Pablo Torre's post and had like an eye emoji and a popcorn emoji in their response to it. That was very interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but that is very surprising that an entity like the MLBPA would respond to something like that.
Especially with how, the labor situation is viewed in baseball over the next year plus. Maybe that's their hint to have Pablo investigate something going on in baseball. I don't know. That's interesting.
Or just to say like, hey, we don't need a salary cap because this will happen anyway.
Yeah. Wow.
Things like that. I don't know. Very interesting.
Under the bus.
Very interesting. Also, speaking of baseball, under the bus to Framber Valdez, or maybe his catcher,
or both. I don't know.
Salazar. Yeah, I don't know either. This was not a great look. Of course, my team, the Astros. So Framber Valdez gave up a grand slam. They're playing the Yankees. Kind of a tough moment there, and it made it 6-0 at the time. And before the pitch, the catcher, Cesar Salazar, is waving at him like, hey, essentially step off. He apparently didn't like the plan for the pitch, told Valdez to step off. Valdez didn't listen, or maybe he saw him late and went into his windup and pitched and then gave up the home run. And so maybe he was upset that Salazar was either waving him off or because of the miscommunication. Either way, it seemed at least that Valdez was very frustrated and decided to throw straight into Salazar when maybe Salazar was expecting something down low, and it hit him right in the chest. And
crossed up by 93 miles per hour. And you watch back the video and you can tell the catcher is immediately like, dude, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then he kind of takes a couple steps toward the mound, and then he goes, you almost see like the light in his eye just go, I'm not doing this here. But like clearly he wanted to ask Framber, like, why did you throw that pitch when that's not the pitch that was called?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, kind of like the Clippers thing, that looks like pretty clearly exactly what we think it is. I think he did. I think he was PO'd and he crossed up his catcher on purpose.
Yeah, he said afterwards that he didn't. They met in the manager's office afterwards and hopefully cleared the air and everything like that, and everybody's on the same page. But yeah, that did seem like a bit of pent-up frustration by the previous event. So for now, it just
under the bus.
I guess both of the guys. I don't know who's more at fault with this, but clearly you see the frustration.
I think it's Framber throwing his catcher under the bus, and Framber belongs under the bus in the segment because of it. I mean, that's a 93 mile per hour projectile. If your catcher thinks it's a slider or something, that's dangerous, dude. That's your teammate.
Yeah.
It's time for the sweetest thing in sports on The Big Show.
This came out yesterday. We didn't get a chance to acknowledge it just yet, but pretty significant gift from the Farmers family, the supporting Mizzou athletics, and particularly for the North End Zone project that is obviously ongoing. But you might remember the name Kirk Farmer, former quarterback at Mizzou, but his family very well connected to the Mizzou community, the Jefferson City community throughout many, many years, and made a big donation to the North End Zone project. And in so doing, the athletic department saying that they are close to the donation goal. At least they're at 100 million. They wanted 125, so they're getting there. That's good news.
that is good news, and it's in a great spot right now to where I think it'll keep the sound in. The structure is pretty well there, and there will be sound to be kept in this weekend because that will be a full capacity building as long as everybody knows where their gate is and gets there ahead of time. We're going to keep talking about it all week, Andy, because you'd hate to get to the game and go, I don't know, I thought I was side to plan ahead, look at a map, and you will be okay. But we kind of all have to do this together, I think, on Saturday.
So the Mizzou fans will know. We'll see about the Kansas fans. If they know
and the Beakers will be wandering around.
Something like that. We'll see.
Know.
But either way, should be a very fun atmosphere, and we'll see how Mizzou does. In the next segment, though, we'll talk about the whole SEC. Our first iteration in 2025 of the SEC football tiers. So we'll go through that. Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network joins us as well at 5:25 on The Big Show.
From elegant weddings to corporate lunches with flavor and flair, Courtyard by Marriott Columbia brings the party and the pros. It's the home of Main Event Catering. And with every event, you'll get an award-winning chef, full banquet staff, and drop-and-go options for any size crowd. And the event center holds up to 300 guests with 8 flexible rooms. If you need help, there's a Marriott certified wedding coordinator on staff too. Book now by calling 573-443-8000.
Drove your new Defender, 63. Got in a fender bender with an SUV. No need to shout, don't go crazy. Just get your phone out, don't let me be. They do all the work with your insurance company. 1, call the number. 2, take it in. 3, get your car back like new again. Take it from me, they make it hassle-free. You can't go wrong with the easy 3. Just a 1, 2, 3 with FPP.
FPPBodyShop.com. Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we launch on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when we go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KTGR to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. That's code KTGR in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 and over, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs and left tackle Tyler Guyton cleared to play in tomorrow's season opener against the Eagles. Diggs is returning from left knee surgery, Guyton from a broken bone in his knee. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones continuing to stand by his decision to trade star linebacker Micah Parsons to the Packers. He did so once again during today's appearance on Good Morning America, said he'd take this type of deal every time. ESPN NFL front office insider Mike Tannenbaum, on the other hand, certainly would not.
It's a massive mistake. If Jerry Jones wanted to trade Micah Parsons, which I would not have, I like 26-year-old pass rushers who are on Hall of Fame trajectories. But if you're going to trade him, Matt, I would have traded him back in March when more teams would have had more cap space and more draft choices to trade.
The Red Sox put rookie star Roman Anthony on the injured list with an oblique strain, likely out the rest of the regular season. Boston in the thick of the AL East and AL wildcard races. The NL West leading Dodgers scratched Shohei Ohtani from his mound start tonight against the Pirates because he told the team he wasn't feeling well. He'll still lead off and serve as the DH.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive can help you protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, and RV, and more. And if something wasn't mentioned that you had in mind, find out if it can be covered at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE, because it probably can be.
From Faroe.
15 to the 10, to the house.
Bush.
Back to the wall, and it's got her.
And Arrowhead.
Touchdown, Kansas Kansas City.
To your speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brenden on KTGR.
I can't wait to see whether Andy and I will agree this week. In our first iteration of the season of the SEC football tiers, as we take a look at what we've seen so far from the SEC teams, and, well, we rank them, put them into tiers, and sometimes we argue a little bit in the process. That's coming up in just a few minutes. At 5:25, we'll talk with Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network, continuing as we're doing all week here on The Big Show to preview that big rivalry matchup between Mizzou and KU. So stay tuned for that at 5:25, 573-875-KTGR if you'd like to call us or text us on today's show. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
So what's your biggest concern and your biggest encouragement for Mizzou as they take on Kansas this weekend? I'd say the concern, maybe the biggest one still, is the offensive line. They mostly played well in that game against Central Arkansas, but still some moments where if that happened against a stronger opponent, maybe it's harder to recover from. So you have to have a better start. Biggest encouragement, honestly, I would say the poise that Bo Pribula showed throughout that game when there was some stuff thrown his way that he maybe wasn't expecting. I think that's a good sign for what Mizzou needs out of its quarterback. It's not to say that he's the best quarterback on the field every time he's out there, but I feel confident in his ability to make the right decision, the right move when Mizzou needs it.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
A pretty big donation announced also by Mizzou Athletics. The Farmer families donating a significant contribution to the North End Zone project, which is nearing the goal that they want for donations to make that project a reality. Of course, it's going to be finished seemingly by the beginning of next football season. You'll remember Kirk Farmer, the former Mizzou quarterback, of course, but their family, an extensive history of impact in the sports world and really the community here in mid-Missouri. And it's good to see that that donation gets added to the Mizzou football ledger.
Number 3.
Don't forget the Chiefs start this week, too, on Friday. Pretty crazy how that's coming up as well. They play in Brazil against the Chargers. In the first injury report released by the team, says only one player out right now, and that's Jalen Royals, the rookie wideout, dealing with a knee injury. So won't be this week when we learn maybe a little bit of info on about how the 5th-round pick could help out Mizzou's receiving core, the Chiefs' receiving core that will definitely be without Rashee Rice. Could be an interesting way about how they situate their receivers in that game against the Chargers Friday night.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Big hit from Ivan Herrera last night. 2-run homer to help the Cardinals get a win over the A's, and now a chance to win the series tonight at 6:45. Royals, meanwhile, they lost yesterday, but so did the Mariners. They've both been one step forward, one step back for about a week, and so the Royals are still 2.5 games back in the wild card race. Just try to make that move at some point, will you?
Number 5.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face. Slap.
Gosh, I love Dan Lanning sniping back at Mike Gundy when Gundy calls out how much they may be paid for their football team.
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
875-KTGR to call or text us. And not the first time that Dan Lanning has done this when an opposing coach maybe questioned how much NIL money Oregon may or may not have access to, but definitely has access to. And this happened last year, I believe, with Kirby Smart, like the last coach that Dan Lanning worked for. And he even said, like, wow, I'm surprised that Kirby Smart was building what he built without any NIL money at all. Wow, it's amazing. And then see what he said about Mike Gundy when Gundy accused Dan Lanning of using $40 million worth of NIL. That's the money that's the number that Mike Gundy threw out there. And Dan Lanning was like, yeah, you know, when you spend less, that's just the excuse that you make to save. Like, we want to win. Other teams make excuses so that they can save. Essentially is what he said.
Yeah, so basically not taking that to mean it's a negative thing to spend a bunch of money. Like, yep, it's kind of what we do now in college football. And
we're happy to do that because our roster's good.
And it's there. The money is there.
Yeah.
Oregon definitely has it.
Might as well spend it.
Yeah, with all that happening. But we'll see how that game goes between Oregon and Oklahoma State already. A little bit of chirping back and forth there. 875-KTGR to call or text us, and we'll see if the Oregon Duck also finds his helmet. Gosh, it's just...
Poor guy.
Yeah, and it's our fault, too. Man, I don't know.
We did kind of put that out into the ether a little bit.
Luckily, no SEC mascots had anything of that sort, although that would have been funny as well. But let's talk about how these SEC teams shape up with the SEC football tiers.
All right.
Where we start, I suppose, at the top.
I think so. That would be correct. Yes.
So Texas dropped to 7 in the rankings.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe a bit of an overreaction, but I can understand.
I don't know. They didn't win.
They didn't win, and I can understand wanting to give other teams credit for some of the wins they had. Yeah. But I don't see anything too worrying about what maybe came from that. So here's how I'll start this tier. I will start it with Georgia, LSU, and Texas. It's my first tier.
All in the top tier. And I think that's right. And I guess if it's just tiers, it doesn't really matter who goes first, because I do think those three teams are in the same tier. A loss to Ohio State at Ohio State by one possession does not mean that you are not in the top tier of the SEC. Texas had the toughest game of the week in the conference. No, they didn't win it, but close loss in that environment. Yes, it didn't look great. Like 14-7 doesn't look great. You'd almost feel better somehow about Texas if they'd given up 24 points but scored 17. Like it would feel a little bit differently if it was a little bit more of a normal score for the game. But I don't think that we should necessarily write Texas off as I still think universal truth. They're one of the 10 best teams in the country, if I had to guess. So I'm comfortable with them being in the top tier. LSU earns their way into it because of the win over Clemson, the way they did it. And I agree, Georgia. I don't think there's any reason to not have them there. Didn't cover against Marshall, but came within a half point of doing so, and did what they're supposed to do against that type of opponent. So those three, I agree, they're all in there. Is there anybody we're missing that should gain inclusion to this top tier?
No, not from this tier. I think that's the end of it. I feel good about this tier.
I would agree. Yeah,
but the next tier is impossible for me. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Okay, I'll start it with South Carolina. They should be here.
Okay. Yeah.
Nobody else really won a marquee game, though.
There's a team that played a power opponent and more than covered their big spread.
I mean, I suppose, but I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You go ahead. Well, Tennessee, you're right.
Well, I'm asking you.
Yeah,
I'm asking you about Tennessee.
I was going through the list. Yeah.
They were favored to beat Syracuse by 14. They won by 19. That's tougher than a lot of teams played. I don't know if Syracuse is very good this year, even relative to their conference mates, but that is a result that I didn't expect it. I thought Tennessee would have a harder time with that game. And if we're just going based off of 1 week of data, that should stand out among, some other teams that we'll have to figure out what to do with a team like Mizzou. You crushed the bad team that you played with. A lot of teams did that. But Tennessee, that's a real first game, and there was no ramp up for them. So for me, I would be inclined to include Tennessee here because their offense looked better than I thought it would in the first game with Joey Aguilar at quarterback.
So I would agree with that. Put them in this tier. But then if we're not putting Alabama here, then I don't see a reason why anybody else should be in this tier.
I don't know if I agree with that because Alabama lost as a 14-point favorite to a team that is probably improved this year, but I don't know if they're improved enough to have done that to Alabama, and Alabama's still on par with these other teams. I have changed my opinion on the trajectory of Alabama for the season based on that game.
So are you ending the tier here, or are you putting anybody else?
No, I think there are other teams and we don't. It's week 2, so we don't have to get into. Well, this means they're going to make the playoff. But like South Carolina, Tennessee, do I think Ole Miss is as good as those teams? Yeah, kind of. They didn't show me anything in the first game not to believe that they are kind of in that range. Florida, I mean, you may be skeptical of Florida, but like I have Alabama probably maybe in the top 8 of my conference right now. I'm low on Alabama. I saw what I saw, and I have changed my opinion on them because of it. And I don't think there's anybody else that's true. So we didn't do like week 0 tiers.
Yeah.
But if we had, I think there would have been teams like Ole Miss for sure that would have been in that same range with Alabama. Alabama is who dropped out. I don't really have any negative feelings about just about anybody else in the conference of those like would-be contender type of teams.
But the argument I think I would make is that before week 1, I maybe would have had Alabama in the top tier of this and put them on as a 4 group with Georgia, LSU, Texas.
Oh, really?
Potentially.
You would have had LSU in the top tier because I don't think that's I until they beat Clemson. I don't think that was something that like they just as easily could have lost to Clemson, and I would be like, yeah, they're fine, but they're not. They're not in that
quite
top
there.
tier.
Okay, but I still maybe would have had Alabama above them or at their same level at the beginning.
I would have had LSU, Alabama, probably Ole Miss, probably South Carolina, all in tier 2 behind Texas and Georgia.
Interesting. See,
LSU moves up. Alabama absolutely moves out for me. But if we're both making different lists here, we can do that. And I think that's how we did it last year. We didn't necessarily collaborate ours. So
it's just
fair
hard.
Game, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's hard to delineate though, because we're going off of a lot of it's going off the rankings and where they started. And like, again, Florida did nothing to say that they should drop.
You decide what.
Or 18.
We don't need to adhere to AP poll when it comes to our tiers.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is that if we're doing that, then is Florida still on the same level because they beat an opponent that everyone should beat, and probably by the number that they beat them by. But does that mean, based on what they did there, that they should be on the same tier as South Carolina or Tennessee? Because I learned nothing about them.
I agree. It depends on what you thought of Florida before the season. Not what the rankings thought of them, but what did you think of them? It's your tiers.
I thought they were a solid team that still is going to have to deal with a very tough schedule and probably won't be able to fully stay afloat based on that, but probably still a solid group that I don't think has the upward trajectory because of all that, which I think South Carolina is different in that sense. I think South Carolina has more of an ability to rise up than Florida does, or even Oklahoma, potentially Ole Miss. I don't know, but it's very interesting. I learned more about South Carolina and Tennessee this weekend.
Okay, so is South Carolina and Tennessee the only teams in that tier for you? Because I'm going to put Ole Miss in there.
So I'm going to keep Alabama in this second tier. Actually, I'll do that. Yeah.
All right. So South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. Anybody else for you in tier number 2?
No.
Okay, I have Ole Miss. And that is probably where I do cut it off at that point.
So South Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss.
Yeah, and again, I think these are going to fluctuate a bit early this season. The team I would be closest to putting in here, I think, would be Florida, because I believe that they are much improved. But I don't think they're handily different than like an Alabama right now. So. Yeah, in like a Texas A&M has to fit in here somewhere, but I'll cut it there.
Okay, so tier 3 for me is going to go Florida, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and I think that's it. That's where I'll cut it.
Texas A&M, your thoughts real quick on not include, because you've listed 9 teams now, and A&M was ranked.
Yeah.
Top 25 team much of last year.
Yeah, I wasn't too...
Same quarterback.
I mean, look, they didn't look bad against UTSA. They didn't cover, though.
Didn't look great.
If you noticed.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there's still maybe a little bit left. I don't think talent-wise they are the same teams that the 3 I just listed are this season.
Yeah.
Not to say that they can't have seasons that are similar to that, but... they're going to have to, here's how I'll break it down if you want to give your next tier, but I'll break it down in the way that might make a little more sense. We'll see, but go ahead.
I'm going to ask you to give tier 4 real quick.
Okay.
Before I give tier 3, and then I'll explain why that is. I don't want to muddy the waters here yet.
Tier 4 for me is A&M. It's Mizzou.
Okay.
And how many teams have I listed? I've listed 11 so far, right?
I believe 11 so far.
Cycling through the other ones here. You know what? I'm going to put Auburn here.
Yep.
I'm going to put them there. 3 teams that
I think that's right.
I think that on the right day can beat anybody above them. But there might be, 1 or 2 right days throughout the season. They may not have enough to break into the very, very top. At least how I see them now.
So that's A&M, Missouri, Auburn is your 4th tier.
Yes.
And does it cut off there? We have seen 12 teams. You have 4 tiers of 3 at this point.
Just again, I'm counting through who I have left off already. Yes, that is the cutoff of my next tier. And I'll say that it is Vanderbilt, Arkansas, the tier underneath that, and then Kentucky, Mississippi State underneath that.
As their own separate tier.
Yeah.
See, I wanted tier 4 from you before I gave tier 3 because I didn't want to influence or I wanted to hear where you're putting Missouri before I said where I'm putting them.
Yeah.
I'll go back to my 3rd tier because I included South Carolina, Tennessee, and Ole Miss in my 2nd tier. Again, I think there are teams in tier 3 that are potentially going to end up better than the teams in tier 2, but I am rewarding the very limited data that we've seen, and I'll have a lot of movement, I think, early in the season with my lists because I do want it to reflect what we've seen rather than too much on the preconceived notions. But my tier 3 has Alabama in it in tier 3, which is you had them tier 2. My tier 3 also includes Florida. It also includes Oklahoma, as yours did. I have Missouri in this tier as well.
Okay.
They lose to Kansas, different conversation. But I've still got Missouri in that tier because if they're not, man, they're suddenly you're going, they're like the 10th, 11th best team in the conference. And I didn't think that coming in. I didn't see anything in the first game that makes me think that it shouldn't be that way. Frankly, there's an argument to be made that I should have them in the 2nd tier, but I will wait to put the homer glasses on too much until we see them play a power opponent. But tier 3 for me, Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And frankly, I'm actually going to move. I'm going to do one thing. I'm actually not going to put Oklahoma in this tier just yet. I think they're a better fit with Auburn and A&M for right now. They didn't look particularly. They had to play their starters for a long time in that game against Illinois State. They won 35-3 at FCS. That's what you're supposed to do. To me, I'm not ready to declare an Oklahoma team that just went 6-7. I know they've changed a lot about their team, but I'm not ready yet to declare that they are on that tier with Missouri, even though I anticipate they will get there. I think they're going to beat Michigan this weekend, and that's going to vault them up. But for now, let's go Alabama, Florida, Missouri. That's my 3rd tier. Oklahoma, Auburn, and A&M. That's my 4th tier.
Okay.
And from there, I generally agree with you. Vandy and Arkansas, I think, is a step up from Kentucky and Mississippi State, who bring up the basement at this point.
So kind of towards the bottom, we agree, and then a few differences. The very top of the tier, I think, is we're in agreement on that.
Yes. It's the 2 through 4.
2 through 4 is where it gets interesting. Okay. I like it.
I'm higher on Ole Miss because I came in high on Ole Miss and they didn't show me anything to the contrary.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think you're a little higher on Oklahoma than me. I'm a little lower on Alabama than you. And I'm a little higher on Missouri, which I think was true when we did our preseason predictions as well.
Yeah. I mean, if we do this at the end of the season, Mizzou's going to be at the very top. Or how you predicted it. 11-1.
Yeah, I said 11-1, and now I don't think they're going to lose to Bama, so find me the loss. Jeez.
875-KTGR. Call or text us here on the KTGR hotline. Let's get to Matey, who is with us now. Matey, what you got, my friend?
What are you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Matey?
Forget about football. I heard you going to talk to Hall of Fame Chris Gervino. Am I right?
We are doing that in a few minutes, yes.
I know. Let me tell you shortly. I know that gentleman for 35 years. I'm telling you guys, we were lucky to have him stay here.
Oh, yeah.
He's high classy. He knows he's not look like Bill Conley, all of that. Woo. No. He tell honest. I know his family. He's high classy gentleman. I'm so honored I'm his friend. I'm serious, Andy.
Yeah.
He is awesome guy, and he's been here for 35. I know him in his sophomore. I meet him when Woody Woodhaven was coach. I meet him. He's a great guy, and you are lucky on and have him. And I tell Brenden, I talk to you about our Mizzou future. Be careful, buddy. Have a nice evening. God bless you guys.
Hey, appreciate you, matey. Thanks for calling in on the big show, KTGR.
Did Matey suggest that I shouldn't be wagering the Mizzou futures in a jurisdiction of legality?
I think that's what he suggested.
Is that what he threw in there at the end?
Yeah.
I'll be responsible. I'll be as responsible as one can be. But I do think that there's a bright future ahead. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Hey, we're all looking forward to it. Your SEC football tiers. We want you to tell us yours. Tell us where we're wrong. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. Also, text in what you think is your biggest concern for the Kansas game, and then also your biggest encouragement that you are looking forward to seeing as they get set to take the field on Saturday afternoon. It should be an electric atmosphere and probably comparable to some of the atmospheres we've seen in this rivalry over the years. First time that's been played since 2011, but a guy who covered several of those matchups before the rivalry went away and can draw back on some of those experiences. Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network. He will join us next to talk about this rivalry and how he sees both of these teams heading into this matchup. He'll join us next on The Big Show, KTGR.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for ProfitShares.com. You can go there right now, sign up, and start playing today because you're the guy that knows who's going to win those big games this weekend. And so you want to put that knowledge to the test, and you want to show everybody that you are the know-it-all when it comes to sports and beyond. You can check out all of the things that you can make predictions on ProfitShares.com. By the way, PROPHET, shares.com. There's college matchups, pro sports matchups. You can lock in on the teams that you like the best. And the best part is that you don't have to put anything in. It is totally free. And the more you get things right, the more credits that you can build up to redeem them for things like gift cards to your favorite restaurants, or you can redeem charitable donations to your favorite causes. It's a great way to show off your knowledge and get a few extra perks along the way. So go check it out now and sign up at ProfitShares.com. Again, PROPHET, shares.com, and start making your predictions now.
Let's talk numbers, because if you're a fan of stats, you'll want to hear this. Flight by Yuengling has just 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's light beer that actually brings some game day flavor. Whether you're at the tailgate or watching from the couch, Flight delivers that crisp, refreshing taste without the extra baggage. Brewed by the oldest brewery in America, so you know it's legit. Flight by Yuengling, the next generation of light beer. DG Yuengling & Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Columbia just got armed. Minutemen Defense is your new destination for guns, ammo, and tactical gear that means business. From holsters and body armor to night vision and magazines, if you need it, they've got it. Plus, the cheapest ammo in town, guaranteed. Located right off I-70 and Rangeline for fast, easy access, locally owned, veteran approved, built for serious shooters. Minutemen Defense. Get there. Visit MinutemenDefenseLLC.com. If you're craving something delicious, find your way to the Pasta Factory, where everything's made from scratch daily. Their fresh sauces, cakes, quiche, dressings, and soups are sure to tantalize your taste buds. And all pasta entrees are cooked, baked, and tossed to order. Don't leave without sampling those homemade desserts, lovingly crafted by Jason and Rob. Good. The Pasta Factory. Visit them at 3103 West Broadway Business Park, right in front of Walmart. Closed Mondays and Tuesdays. The Pasta Factory, where fresh meets flavor.
It's been 15 years now since we started True Sun Exteriors, and the difference between now and 15 years ago is astounding to me. What we've been able to do is try to service a higher demand over the years, but we've also been very careful throughout the years to kind of restrain and not get too far out in front of ourselves, so that we are continuing to keep the same sort of quality and customer satisfaction that we had from day one. I like to think that we have taken very good care of these good people, and that's part of the reason why we continue to get good people. And in turn, we've taken that great group of people. Now we can service our community too. We're always getting feedback that our employees are doing little extra things for people on job sites that are more of a favor to the homeowner. It's been a heck of a ride, and we have grown tremendously. And we haven't always done everything the perfect way the first time, but one thing we do is we will bounce back, and we will learn, and we will get better every time. The last 15 years at TrueSun has been truly incredible.
15 years ago, I wasn't even born yet.
TrueSun Exteriors. TrueSunExteriors.com.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
Coming up very soon, Mizzou, Kansas. This weekend, this Saturday, and you can call or text us with what your biggest encouragement and biggest concern is for the game, 875-KTGR. Here on The Big Show with Andy and Brenden. Joining us now on the KTGR hotline to talk about this long-standing rivalry is a guy who will be roaming the sidelines during that game coming up on Saturday, as he has done for many years for the Tiger Radio Network. Chris Gervino joins us now on the KTGR hotline. Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well, Andy. Thanks. Hope you guys are well.
Oh, we are very well. We are very excited, and I know you are too. And we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what this rivalry has meant over the years and how great it is to be back. But I just want your thoughts on how you kind of saw Mizzou in their first data point of the 2025 season going up against Central Arkansas. You take everything with a grain of salt, of course, for the opponents and the talent disparity. But what impressed you about how Mizzou went out there and took care of its business?
Well, I think they did just what you mentioned there at the end, took care of business. I thought it was a mature performance, I guess you could say. It was a pretty clean game. You never have perfect games, especially the first time out. They were playing a completely overmatched opponent. We're aware of that, but Missouri never gave them a chance. I thought, the offense started well. Bo Prabula looked really good. Those numbers are hard to argue with. 23 of 28 passing, 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground. Of course, Ahmad Hardy, 10 carries, 100 yards. The defense was good. Damon Wilson with 2 sacks, and of course Josiah Trotter with 8 tackles to lead the team. And what's the common thread about those 4 guys? All transfers. So, everybody goes in the transfer portal now across the country. These schools, these teams, they try to load up and get better. That's the idea. I think Missouri really has. I think they've gotten some of the best players on their team as the season unfolds. We'll see will be transfers. Many teams will try that and would like to do that, but I think Missouri's got a good chance of accomplishing that with those 4 names for starters right there.
And Chris, in the post game at the end of the Central Arkansas matchup and a lot of the questions that you asked to the players, you always kind of ended with, hey, this Kansas rivalry is coming up. And what's your sense for the way that this version of the Missouri Tigers understands what they're about to get involved in this Saturday?
Right. It's interesting because and I believe them. They say they have learned about it and heard about it. And Coach Drinkwitz even said he had guest speakers come in over the summer and explain that to them. And so you hope they appreciate that and want to play that way for the school and the state and the fans, because it is exciting and it is different from most games. And they're probably, most of them really aren't aware of it very much, obviously not with firsthand knowledge, but I also agree with the coach. It sounds like Coach Big too, but once they get out and start the game, they just got to play football to the best of their ability. The emotion, the excitement, the pageantry, the anticipation, all that is real. And it's great fun, especially for us, but they've got to play a clean game. This is a huge step up in competition from last Saturday, and that quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is legit. He is really good, and I thought that before his 2 games this season, and he's done nothing to change my mind. When he's healthy, he's been really good for Kansas.
Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network with us here on the Big Show KTGR. And as you mentioned there with Jalen Daniels, a very interesting test. Over the last couple of years, Mizzou has faced similar quarterbacks. I know Drinkwitz said that they hadn't faced anybody like Jalen Daniels before, but they faced some pretty good running quarterbacks as well. And namely last year when they went up against guys like Tommy Castellanos and Diego Pavia. Do you see a similar type of test for that, or do you maybe see a guy that even has more of an ability to hurt you with his arm?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think, it's hard to compare really, but I think, Castellanos, I think, was most dangerous as a running quarterback, especially. Pavia was and is still dangerous, especially as a runner. And I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback run as hard as he does. I mean, he literally plays the game like a running back the way he runs, and he's outstanding. So they're both good. They can certainly throw the ball, but this guy's really good. I mean, he is really, I think, a legit dual threat quarterback. And I am not comparing him to Jaden Daniels of LSU, similar name, different player. But I think he's capable in both facets of the game of being that type of a quarterback. He's just had to stay healthy over his career, but when he's been healthy and available, Kansas has been pretty good. I don't think he's got the team around him, obviously, that Daniels did a couple of years ago with LSU when he won the Heisman Trophy. But this guy's a good player. He's not a one-man team, though. I mean, I think Missouri across the board has more talent on the field and certainly at home should win the ball game. But, it'll be a competitive game, and it's one that we look forward to, I think, for sure.
Certainly so. And with how Mizzou offensively will try to assert themselves, I wonder what you made of the offensive line also. There were maybe a couple tough moments, but overall seemed like a good performance. How do you kind of see that as they step up in competition themselves?
Right. I think that's probably the biggest question on the team. I think in my mind that's still fair, but I thought they did fine. Again, it's just so hard to judge, off a game like a team that they played. And, I'm so glad the SEC is going to 9 conference games and it's, one more real game and one less smaller opponent per se. But I thought they did fine. I mean, I really did because, that was a question area and it wasn't perfect. But they did okay. And I say question area simply because there was some shuffling, basically the week, certainly well within 2 weeks of the start of the season. But they're really confident in Caden Green at left tackle. And, of course, Tollison in the middle of the center. They've got 2 transfers. Judice now is going to play, left guard, Trost at right tackle. And, of course, Curtis Pigler at right guard was really the newest addition to that starting unit. So I think we still have to wait and see how that is because, fellas, something just tells me the Central Arkansas defensive front is not quite as stout as some we'll see in the SEC. And really, not even as stout as one we're going to see Saturday. Kansas has some good defensive linemen. Again, this is a real team coming in, and they've played 2 games and won them both convincingly. And one was Fresno State. That's usually a decent team that plays good-sized schools throughout the season. So, they've had 2 games, and I'd say at least one real test.
Yeah, certainly. And they've passed them both to this point. And so, Missouri is going to get its first test here. And Chris, they're going to do so without Blake Craig, who performed so well in the couple field goals that he kicked to start that Central Arkansas game, but ended up leaving it with an injury. And it has confirmed to have been a torn ACL. So he's out for the season. I'm wondering, Chris, what do you know about Robert Meyer and what we could potentially see? Because in a close projected game, of course, the kicker oftentimes does have a role in that.
That's right. We may learn a lot about Robert this Saturday. May find out a lot more. Don't know much. Just been out at camp, and he kicked well, obviously, in preseason, and they're confident in him to have him on the rosters. It's not like they've got all sorts of kickers, on the sidelines waiting to come in this type of situation. Gave a good account of himself when he was out there in the opener, but this will be, again, a little bit different atmosphere. And I think you're right. That is something to watch. I really had a lot of confidence in Blake Craig, obviously strong leg. And, I would just say, you mentioned this could be a close game, and it could be. You look back at last year when Missouri had another great season and won 10 games and went to the Music City Bowl and won a close game against Iowa after winning really close games at home, mind you, against Vanderbilt, Auburn, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And full credit to the Tigers and Coach Drinkwitz. They have been incredibly good the last couple of years in one-score games. But those 4 games, remember, in the SEC, Auburn, Oklahoma, Vandy, Arkansas, the Tigers at home had to come from behind late in the fourth quarter to win, or at least force overtime to win. So that is how close the games will be, I think, in the SEC. And again, just for example, those 4 opponents you now get on the road, and you have to think Auburn and Oklahoma will be better than they were last year. So we're all going to find out about the new kicker and see what happens. But there may be many opportunities for him to be graded because I think they likely are going to be in close games. It'd be hard not to expect several close games, especially in the SEC, if not this Saturday.
Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. It's exciting to get this game back. And Chris, you've covered this game for so many years, dating back to the time when you were not only with the Tiger Radio Network, but also with KOMU. To have this game back, even in this context where, no, it's not at the end of the season like we were used to, and no, it's not a conference game anymore, but the meaning it's felt evident all week long. How have you kind of seen the context of how it feels this year versus maybe in years past?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it's great. And I think the big difference is it's early in the season, unlike, most of the time that I've been involved in it as a broadcaster when it's right at the end of the season. But there's definitely excitement. It's palpable. This is an unofficial barometer, I suppose, but personally, I've done a lot of shows like this one with you guys this week. It's great to be with you guys, and I've been on in Missouri and Kansas throughout the week, several just today alone, and that's great. And that shows two things, actually, that this series has been around a long time, and I've been around a long time. But it's okay because I've enjoyed it, and you think of some of the great games in this series. 4 come to mind because I've been thinking about it a lot. Of course, the pinnacle was 2007. Missouri beats KU at Arrowhead Stadium in front of more than 80,000 fans, gets number 1 in the country, led by Chase Daniel. And that was just such a great win. And the euphoria on the field and the dressing room after the game was incredible because Mizzou knew, based on that result and what happened over the weekend, they'd be number 1 in the country for the first time, only time since 1960. And then yet leave it to Kansas a year later, 2008, in the snow at Arrowhead Stadium to win on a 4th and 7 play from Missouri's 26-yard line. Not just a first down, but a game-winning touchdown to Kerry Meyer, 40-37. And I can go back 1991, Tony Sands of Kansas, an NCAA record that still stands today, 58 carries for 396 yards rushing. That was broken several years later by LaDainian Tomlinson when he went to 406. And one more I'll throw out, back on Missouri's side of things, 1986, get this fella, the Tigers, coached by Woody Woodenhofer, won 3 games that year. Kansas, coached by Bob Valicenti, won 2, but Missouri still blasted Kansas 48-0 at Faurot Field. Ronnie Cameron, 2 touchdown passes to Victor Moore, and that matched the biggest win in the history of this series, 48 points, and Missouri's beaten KU by 48 4 times.
It's amazing how the 2 teams throughout their long-standing history, when they matched up, 2007 notwithstanding, usually not the cream of the crop in college football, but that didn't take away from the rivalry because at the end of the season, it would be that proof of concept. Like we get that carrot at the very end there to take away from the rival. So it's tough that we missed that this year. But again, I don't see the sense that on Saturday people will be thinking about, oh, I don't like that this is at the beginning of the year. No, anytime they play Kansas, it matters.
Well, it does matter. And I want to say this because this is the truth. And I'm so glad it's back. And I give a lot of credit to former Mizzou athletic director Jim Sturk, and at the time his right-hand man, his top assistant Nick Jost. They, from Missouri's standpoint, really knew the value of this series and what it meant to the fans who have been calling for it ever since it stopped. And they got it done. They're both gone from Mizzou now, but from their efforts and on the Missouri ledger of things, that really has helped bring this series back. And if anyone doubted the importance or excitement about it, who knows? The players can all say the right things and the coaches as well. They got to play the game and do the work. But man, for the fans, and like I said, shows like yours and around our state in Kansas, it's been nonstop. And it's early in the season, but this is really exciting. And it's been back in basketball for a few years, and now we'll have it in football for a few years. And it's great for Missouri, I think, to get it started at home too. That doesn't hurt, playing at Faurot Field this Saturday.
Yeah, the first one's going to be very important. It'll feel a lot better for the fans that are going to be on the winning side of it very soon. So we'll find out in 3 short days who is hoisting that war drum at the end. Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network. Great to have him here on the Big Show KTGR to talk about this Mizzou-Kansas rivalry that will be renewed on the football field here very soon. Chris, thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts on the game and the rivalry and everything, and I hope you enjoy it this weekend.
My pleasure, guys. We'll see you Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. It's the Big Show at 540 KTGR and the KTGR app. It's not just that people go back to 2007, and rightfully so. That's the peak of this football rivalry. But there are so many others, and there are either job savers or job killers
right?
Based on this one game. You maybe did well early on in the season, maybe put together a great season overall, but you lost this game and maybe you lost your job because of it.
Yeah, and I mean, this year it's certainly one that it's kind of a, it's a bump in the road into what hopefully is going to be a really productive special season for Missouri. I don't really care what they think about it on the Kansas side as far as, needing it to make a bowl. That's probably what they want to do. I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference for Mizzou. That it's a part of, what you want to do in a bigger picture sense in the season. You always want to beat Kansas, but it kind of matches up this year with Kansas has a solid team this year, and you're hoping to prove that you're even better than solid. So this is like a stepping stone toward the opportunity to be able to do that. You don't beat Kansas. I'm not really feeling like the South Carolina game is one that I can project. I'm not feeling like the Alabama game is one that I can project. You got to start with this one, and it's going to be a test that's worth all the hype I think that we are giving it, because it just feels like it is going to be one of those one possession down to the wire type of games.
And it'll feel so different for the winner and the loser after it is done, no matter how the rest of their season goes. So we're looking forward to it here. Call or text us with your thoughts on it. Give us your biggest concern and your biggest encouragement for Mizzou heading into this game against Kansas. We'll get to some of your texts here after this live local sports center on the Big Show.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports center is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's rounded rubber, Lee sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Chiefs on the road. They have left for Brazil today. Jalen Royals, rookie wide receiver, did not travel with the team. A couple injury concerns. Everybody else expected to go. Hollywood Brown and Christian Fulton notably on that list. They've been full participants this week. Von Herrera's go-ahead two-run homer was enough to help the Cardinals last night. 2-1. They win against the Athletics as they even up the series. It was his second straight game with a home run. Miles Michaelis made history last night when 6 innings, allowed just 1 earned. He was the first Cardinals pitcher to accomplish a 3-pitch inning since Mike James way back in 2000. That occurred in the top of the 6th. Rubber match gets underway tonight at 6:45 p.m. You hear that one right here on KTGR's. Matthew Liberatore faces off against Jeffrey Springs. Royals fall 5-1 to the Angels last night. Bobby Witt had the lone run. Royals 2.5 games out of the wild card. They're back for game 2 tonight against the Angels. First pitch, 6:40 from Kauffman Stadium. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast for the Boone County Office of Emergency Management, inviting you to the 5th Annual Ready Festival at Columbia's Cosmo Park on September 18th at 4 to 8 p.m. Get more info about this free event at ready.boonemo.org.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking mostly cloudy skies and a chance for some storms through midnight this evening. We'll continue to see clearing skies through tomorrow as morning temperatures drop down into the low to mid 50s. We'll see highs in the mid 70s tomorrow. Clouds return by tomorrow night ahead of another front that'll bring some rain into Friday. That will keep temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70 on Friday afternoon. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
All the hard hits.
He's under pressure, and down he goes. Inside the 20-yard line.
All the jaw-dropping moments.
Makes a man miss. 30, 20, near sideline, 10, 5, touchdown.
KTGR is your home for the high school football game of the week.
Oh, my goodness.
Join us this weekend as the Rockbridge Bruins host the Smith Cotton Tigers.
Coverage starts with high school kickoff Friday night at 6 on Mid-Missouri's Total Sports Station, KTGR.
Hey, it's Andy and Brenden here with Underdog Fantasy. So much to choose from this weekend, right? It's going to be a very interesting one on the college and NFL front. And you can make plays on Underdog and win cash on the performances that, hey, you know are going to happen on Saturday, Sunday, whenever you're making your entries on Underdog, Brenden.
That's right. And this weekend, I am ready for the emergence, the arrival of Ahmad Hardy in the border war. I'm going higher than 80.5 rushing yards for the Mizzou running back taking on Kansas.
It's going to be a party at Faroe.
Yeah, what's great is that you can take picks like that and you can pair it in your entry with other NFL picks, even go to other leagues. You can go to baseball, you can go to golf, so much more with Underdog Fantasy. And you can play right here in Missouri. No traveling necessary, Brenden.
So download the app today and sign up with promo code KTGR to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code KTGR. Millions of fans have already won billions by making plays on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 or older and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Free-for-all RV Road Warriors, your best blast of Branson just turned into a bad day bummer. You ran out of gas, blew a tire, killed your battery, or sitting sideways in a ditch, and managed to lock yourselves out. Ouch. Hey, it could happen. And for the save, you call I-70 Towing. They're Mid-Missouri's go-to crew for roadside assistance, too. Fuel, tires, batteries, locks, winching, you name it. When your world seems to have been wrecked, call the team they hope you never have to meet. I-70towing.com. Now serving Boonville. Winching.
It's an absolutely life-changing decision. So before you amputate, wait and get a second opinion at Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center. A second opinion can give you and your loved ones peace of mind, knowing that Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center may be able to offer another treatment option. Quality of life matters, so wait before you amputate and talk with Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center. Visit boone.health to learn more.
Real healing starts here. Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center.
Get ready for game day with Zing Zang. Zing Zang has you covered. Kick off with their ready-to-drink Bloody Marys featuring 6 times distilled vodka, or turn up the heat with their blazing Bloody Mary. Prefer margs? Enjoy classic or mango margarita, both made with premium Blanco tequila. With 9% alcohol, these cocktails deliver bartender-quality cocktails with legendary taste. Find Zing Zang at your local retailer. Zing Zang, taste the legend, and please Zing Zang responsibly.
On game day, every needs a. And every tailgate needs Kingsford charcoal. And a match. Whatever lot you're in, whatever you're grilling up for your fellow Tiger tailgaters, Kingsford charcoal is the official charcoal of Missouri football. Without it, you're just standing around in a parking lot. Since 1920, Kingsford has been proud to fire up your tailgates with friends and family. Kingsford.com.
This is Kim with Hearing Aid Consultants. For some, the thought of wearing a hearing device makes them feel old. In reality, improved hearing helps prevent accelerated aging. Untreated hearing loss not only can decrease your lifespan, but it can also lead to a faster decline in cognitive abilities and increase the likelihood of dementia. Come see us at Hearing Aid Consultants for your free hearing evaluation today. Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab in Jefferson City. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brenden on The Big Show on KTGR.
On radio, you're going to be taking to Cardinals coverage just about now. Be sure to tune in on the KTGR app to hear the rest of us, or on YouTube. Here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brenden here. Thanks to Chris Gervino of the Tiger Radio Network for joining us last segment. Also, Bill Connelly of ESPN last hour. By the way, tomorrow, we're going to keep the Mizzou, Kansas theme going, and we're going to talk to Mark Godich, who was the author of Tigers versus Jayhawks, from the Civil War to the Battle for Number One. That's a book that it's been out for several years now, but resonates this week. It dives deep into the 2007 game, but talks about all the context of the rivalry leading up to it. And Mark did a whole lot of work several years ago to put that together. And he was in town this weekend as well. And we got a chance to talk to him in studio. So we're going to hear him tomorrow. It's going to be great.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, anything we can do to get more background on gearing up for this rivalry game being renewed is definitely something that I have interest in.
And I have that book, and I'm meaning to break back into it after reading it when it first came out. But this is the week certainly to re-up and make sure that you're all caught up on the Mizzou-KU rivalry if you haven't been already. But tell us the biggest worry you have, the biggest concern, but also the biggest encouragement that you have for this game for Mizzou's sake coming up against Kansas. George says, not concerned. Mizzou 38, Kansas 17. Bo knows football.
Oh, Bo does know.
He does
and
know.
Already getting into a score prediction on Wednesday. I like
How about that? Love it. Daniel texting in, concern is our O-line, but also see them fixing it since they have tape of them in the first game. Now, encouragement, Kansas is ranked 101st in third down offense this year, and they've played Wagner and Fresno State. And that was something that Bill Connelly brought up. Like, again, if you're able to cut down on those 4-point plays, right? That's what they're called. Make sure that you hold field goals in those situations as opposed to touchdowns, then you can at least have an upper hand there. It doesn't win you the game, but it very much allows you to stay in it for as long as possible.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's, for me, offensive line, that's the thing that I don't know if it even goes as far as to say I'm worried, but if we're going to label a concern, like that's what I want to see really be able to hold up. And I'm encouraged that the guy that's really both guys that are going to be standing in the backfield, the quarterback and the running back, I think are among the best players on the field in this matchup. So I think the offense needs to look. I mean, you put up 61 points last week. I know that the situation was what it was. You're playing an FCS opponent, but I think this has to be a game where the offense can stay on schedule and can ultimately put points and touchdowns on the board. Like I think you're going to win this game with just field goals. I don't know what the over-under is or, how high of a score is projected, but I think you're going to have to get the ball in the end zone in this one.
It will feel like a game that you do have to take advantage of every chance you get in the red zone. And, with Mizzou's kicking situation also, like it's not to say that Robert Meyer can't do the job. Like,
but we don't know.
Probably can.
We just don't know yet.
Highly rated coming in, but we just don't know about, can he do it with a crowd of people watching him in this magnitude of a game? It's not just, 60 some odd people watching you make the kick. It's 60 some odd people that maybe want to win this game more than any other game on the schedule, right or wrong. But that's going to be the case for a good amount of people in the building, I'm sure, especially since they're in the building for it. So that comes with a lot. And that's not just for Robert Meyer. That's for everybody on the team. Like they haven't probably experienced something like that before. And so that's an aspect that you've got to factor in when they finally hit the lines.
Yeah. And I want them, playing it in week 2 instead of the end of the season, whatever. I still think the players will. And I, of course, as a fan, want them to have sort of like the gravity of the rivalry as something they are aware of, at least coming into the game. We've talked a lot about how once the game begins, you just have to go play football. I hope Mizzou has its best foot forward because of the rivalry, but also because of what it means in the grander scheme of their season to, prove some of the, I don't even know if doubters is the right word, but Mizzou is just not considered or thought of at the level of, some of the blue bloods of the conference. And you have to kind of prove your way into that. I totally get it, but 2 straight 10-win seasons basically being considered an afterthought. Do it again until they can't ignore you. That's sort of, I think, a big backdrop to this as well. Is not just the context of this game, but how much it could impact what happens in the following weeks.
By the way, unnamedsportsbook.com, still the spread 6.5, depending on where you look. Total 50.5, 51. It's come down from where it started. It was at 53.5.
I think that's about right. I mean, 27-24.
Yep, exactly.
Pick a winner,
Comes down to a field goal. Yeah, that seems very, very likely for a game like this. We'll see. Landon texting in. My biggest concern for the game, we lose and my life is ruined.
Yeah, well, that's valid.
my biggest encouragement for the game, which does outweigh the concern, it will be one of the most fun games that I've ever been to when we win. Yeah. Pretty much.
Here's your encouragement. It'll be the best environment for a game Mizzou has seen. I don't, since when? I mean, since 07 was really cool. That wasn't a home crowd, though. That was at Arrowhead. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what's better than this?
I don't know.
In recent memory, it's hard to pinpoint. It was exciting going into the, final game. You win and you're in the SEC championship. Remembering that from 2013, 2014. This is going to have another gear to it. I just can't wait to get into that building.
Jason says, worry is pass protection. excited about Bo's legs. I'll say that the pass protection, actually, I'm not too, I mean, yes, make sure that those two defensive ends are held at bay. The breakdowns on Thursday were more on the ground game type, on interior type communication things. Pass protection, actually, Eli Drinkwitz said this week that he didn't see a whole lot wrong with it, that he actually was not all that concerned, even though there was one where, Caden Green got beat, and then there was another one where one guy didn't slide, things like that.
The 2 free shots at the quarterback, I still feel like are things to be concerned about. However we want to label it, that counts, because Bo had the football and then he got tackled. And so that's pass protection for my money.
Well, and on that part of it, it happened on the same drive where you had some of the breakdowns on the short yardage stuff. And so, as we've talked about, it was maybe 1 or 2 drives where you're like, is this okay? But then
if that's the anomaly, we're in great shape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if that was just hey, there's something that was miscommunicated that wasn't, the guys weren't on the same page and it was a one-off. I think the talent is there across the front 5 to be just fine. And, it just understand that it will be a step up in a significant step up in competition compared to Central Arkansas.
Well, we're getting closer and closer, and you can keep texting in your thoughts about it here on The Big Show. You can also comment on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe there. Give us a like, give us a comment, everything that goes along with that. And we appreciate you tuning in today. Turn on your radio to hear the Cardinals right now, and we'll be back at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Again, Mark Godich, the author of Tigers versus Jayhawks, the book all about this rivalry. He'll join us at 4:25 tomorrow. We'll get you set for the start of the NFL season. Play Fade Eliminate is back tomorrow. We'll get to that very soon. He's Brenden. I'm Andy. We're done for now.
It's another perfect morning. Birds chirping.